Well, good morning, Quest Church. Good morning. Would y'all please stand and sing with us? Let's praise His mighty name of Jesus. I'm leaning on the everlasting arms that place me on the rock that stands, and I hold true to the one who breaks my fall and lifts me time and time again. Oh my God, so good, you never give up, you never give up on me. Oh, what joy I found because of your love for me. Oh my God, so good, you never give up, you never give up on me. Oh, what joy I found because of your love for me. Oh, oh, oh. There's a freedom purchased by the highest price. This grace outweighs all my shame. I'm made new through the power of sacrifice. From death now raised to life again. Oh my God, so good, you never give up, you never give up on me. Oh, what joy I found because of your love for me. Oh my God, so good, you never give up, you never give up on me. Oh, what joy I found because of your love for me. Oh my God, I'm not a slave to sin, so I'm singing. You are good. Buried with Christ to rise in your freedom. You are good. You make a promise, Jesus, you keep it. You are good. So I praise your name as long as I'm breathing. You are good. I'm not a slave to sin, so I'm singing. You are good. Buried with Christ to rise in your freedom. You are good. You make a promise, Jesus, you keep it. You are good. So I praise your name as long as I'm breathing. You are good. Oh my God, so good. You never give up on me. Oh, what joy I found because of your love for me. Oh my God, so good. You never give up on me. Oh, what joy I found because of your love for me. Oh my God, so good. You never give up on me. Oh, what joy I found because of your love for me. Oh my God, so good. You never give up on me. Oh, what joy I found because of your love for me.
morning. Y'all can go ahead and be seated.
Hi, my name is Amber, and I want to welcome each of you in the building and those of you watching online to The Quest. We're so excited that you've chosen to spend your Sunday with us as Pastor Jim tells us a little bit more about friendship this morning. When you walked inside this morning, you should have received a worship guide. For those of you watching online, you can access the worship guide on the homepage of our website. Inside, you'll find some message notes as well as upcoming events that are coming up here at The Quest. Everyone that's inside the room, if you would pull out your communication card that's inside your worship guide, and at least write your name on it. Our church staff prays over those cards each week, so we will be praying for you. If this is your first time visiting us here at The Quest, we would love for you to put as much information on those cards as you feel comfortable with, and we'd especially like to know how you heard about The Quest. If you'll flip that card over on the back, you'll see some next steps that you might want to take, as well as a place for prayer requests. We have a very special team of people that pray over these prayer requests each week. But if for some reason that's more of a private matter, you can mark the box confidential, and then only your gathering pastor and Pastor Jim will see those. At the end of the gathering, we'd like you to take those communication cards and drop them in one of the .com boxes located around the room. That stands for donations, commitments, and communications. Also, if you came prepared to give today, there's giving envelopes on your table. You can also drop those in the .com box. We also have online giving or text giving. You can search in your app store for the Quest RC. And let's see, what else? If this is your first time visiting with us, we'd love for you to leave with a free gift. On your way out the door, you can just stop by the information wall and pick up any of the books or Bibles located there. Again, thank you for spending your Sunday with us here at The Quest, and I'm going to kick it over to Pastor Jim.
Thanks, Amber. Yeah. Amber's first time doing the welcome. I thought she did a great job. I know that applause wasn't for me. So the guests are like, wow, they applaud when the pastor comes out. No, never happens, all right? My name is Jim Dunn. I'm the lead pastor here. If you're our guest today, you're joining us on a little different week, but I think this could be a powerful week. I teased this last week for our church by saying today could be the start of something that changes your life forever. And certainly for the better and makes you better as we talk about friending. Now, if you were with us this summer, we had a 4-week series from your favorite pastor, Pastor Craig Groeschel of Life Church in Edmond, Oklahoma. And I'm not threatened by that, okay? He's my favorite pastor too, talking about this issue of friending. And it really resonated with our church as we were introduced to the idea that we might be living with relational poverty, not having significant spiritual friendships the way God created us for. And it was a powerful series. I particularly thought the most impactful message was the third week of that series, and that happened on July 4th weekend. So you didn't hear it, because there were only like 12 people here that weekend, okay? And maybe it was a little more than 12, but a lot of our church wasn't here. And I thought, man, we've just missed one of the most powerful messages I've ever heard about the power of relationships. And we didn't have a practical next step like we do right now. And so we're reloading week 3 of a series called Friending. And then today, after the message, I'll be able to come back and give you a powerful, practical next step that you can start doing next week. That, again, I can't promise this, but I can predict it, that if you take this next step, life can look radically different for you 3 years, 5 years from now as you move into life-giving spiritual relationships. Let's start by listening in, taking some notes today from Pastor Craig Groeschel as he talks about being one community away from changing the course of your destiny.
Well, it's a great honor to have all of you with us today at all of our life churches and our partnering network churches. And those of you in countries all over the world on the other side of computer screens right now, you are a part of our family at Church Online. And today we're in the third week of a 4-week message series called friending. I want to dive right in today and start with our key thought and our key verse that we will visit again and again in this series. The key thought for our series is this: you show me your friends and I'll show you your future. You show me your friends and I will show you your future, because you will become like those you spend the most time with. In fact, Solomon, thousands of years ago, said it this way. He said, if you walk with the wise, what will you become? All of our churches, I need your help today. He said, walk with the wise and become what? And become wise. He said, on the other side of the coin, that for a companion of fools does what? A companion of fools suffers harm. In other words, you show me your friends and I will show you who you are becoming. If you hang around those who are passionate and positive and faith-filled, you will become more passionate and positive and full of faith. If, on the other hand, you run around with people who are negative and critical and have bad attitudes, you're going to get sucked down to that level, and you're going to become more negative, more critical, and full of bad attitudes. You show me your friends, and I will show you your future. Now, last week we talked about 3 different types of poverty. We talked about material poverty, which we all know what that is. A second type of poverty we talked about is spiritual poverty. You can have material wealth, but if you have no eternal hope, you are spiritually impoverished. The third type of poverty we talked about really jarred a lot of people. They're like, oh my gosh, I really didn't realize just how much of this third type of poverty that I actually experience. It's not material, it's not spiritual, but we talked about relational poverty, which is sweeping across the developed Western world. It seems the more financial blessings, the more material blessings people have, the more they are losing the blessings of relationships. And there's a lot of theories as to why. One of them, I believe, that in our society, we so celebrate and strive for independence. I don't want to depend on anybody. I don't want to need anything. I want to be independent. That we forget that to be independent is to be distinctly non-Christian. Because God did not create us to be independent, but instead to be dependent on Him and on the people in His family. Jesus died for us and loves the church, and we together or to serve one another, love one another, exhort one another, lift and love one another. To be independent is really to be distinctly non-Christian. In fact, even in our language, I believe sometimes we don't communicate the fullness of what God wants. In the church world, we'll say, and I've said this a million times, and it's very, very true, and that is you need a personal relationship with God, which is true, but it's also incomplete. Never just settle for a personal relationship with God, because there's actually something even richer, which is a shared relationship with God. Wherever 2 or 3 gather together in His name, there He is in the midst of them. What's even better than experiencing God on your own is experiencing the glory and the power and the majesty and the goodness and the character of God in the context of a broader, deep biblical community. And yet the reality is, so few people have that. In our culture today, we have so many external blessings, and yet so many people internally are relationally impoverished. Why is that? I did some research this week, and based on my research, I'll give you, in my opinion, the top 3 reasons why so many are relationally impoverished today. The first, if you're taking notes, is because of increased mobility. We just don't stay in one place very long anymore. The average American moves once every 5 years. If you're between the ages of 20 and 40, you move on average once every 3 years. It's really hard to have long-term committed relationships when we don't stick around. Number 2 is modern conveniences. Think about this. I read a book years ago that talked about how the air conditioner massively changed community friendships, okay? Before the air conditioner, where did people hang out at their houses in the evening time? Anybody remember? They'd hang out in the front yard, outside, right? Because it was cooler outside, okay? Everybody say, hey, how you doing? And you get to know your neighbors. Air conditioning came, and what happened? We're inside. Next modern convenience that changed neighborhood relationships was the attached garage. Some of you will remember it. If you look at older homes, there's detached garages. When they're attached, and with the invention of the garage door opener, now you don't have to ever wave at your neighbors. You can pull right up to your bat cave, push a button, open the door, pull in, and shut it, and you can live in the same neighborhood for years and never have to even talk to the people next to you. Modern conveniences. There's also now, I know a lot of you are too young to know what I'm talking about, but the answering machine changed everything. Those of you who are like my age or older, do you remember that to find out who was calling, what you had to do? This is stunning to those who are younger. To find out who was calling, get ready for this, you actually had to answer the phone. Like, I know it's crazy. I go, wow, really? Yes, you did. And then the answer machine came, and suddenly you could screen your calls. You have to wait there and listen. Beep. Hello, Craig, I'm calling. Oh, I'm not talking to them. And you could distance yourself. And the list goes on and on and on and on. In fact, one of the more recent developments that's really changing society is the increase of individualized forms of entertainment. Individualized forms of entertainment. Think about it. Those of you who are kind of like my generation and older, back in the day when we were growing up, how did we play and entertain ourselves as kids? What would you do? You go outside, and who would you play with? People. Kids. I know, crazy. Now, what's more normal? Stay inside and play on your iPad or with your own video game, and there's not nearly as much social interaction. The third big challenge that's impacting relationships is the rise of social media, which we've acknowledged has tremendous blessings. I use different forms and see great benefit from them. But at the same time, it's not just the same as face-to-face contact. And what one article said, it was a stunning line that just really grabbed my attention. The author said that social media is creating an epidemic of deferred loneliness. An epidemic of deferred loneliness. Think about it. You feel a little bit lonely, so you want to you post something on Facebook, or you upload a picture on Instagram, or you tweet something, and then generally speaking, you get almost immediate feedback. Someone likes it. Oh, yes. Oh. Someone says, you look so good in your selfie. Oh, yes, I do. Looks so good. And you get this immediate feedback. The problem is, you know internally how little it takes to double click on a picture on Instagram and keep on scrolling. And so it doesn't alleviate or eliminate the loneliness. What it does is it just defers it. It defers it. And so many of us were going through life with 400 Facebook friends, and yet no one we could call if we really needed to talk and reveal our hearts. And we got so many other blessings, and yet internally, deep down, when we're silent enough to think about it, we actually believe something's not working. We think something's missing, something's wrong, something is not as it should be. Last week we decided that it might not just be something that's missing, but it might be someone that's missing. This week I want to say to you, it might not just be someone that's missing, but it could be a group of someones. And our key thought for today, if you're taking notes, is this. You might be one community away from changing the course of your destiny. You might be one group of strong, committed believers that you do life with together in the highs and in the lows. Those who lift you, pray for you, encourage you, and always have your back. You might honestly be one community away from changing your future family, from changing future generations, from changing your ability to make a difference in this world. You may be one community away from changing the course of your destiny. In fact, I did an interview recently, and the interviewer asked me this question. I thought it was a great question. He said, if there's one contributing factor to your general success, maybe who your family is or what you've been able to do in ministry, what would be the greatest contributing factor? And without any hesitation, I said, the long-term committed relationships that I have, the people in my life, hands down, beyond a shadow of a doubt, because I've been very blessed with very long-term, very deep, very committed, very intimate relationships. All the way down, if you take just our church leadership, we're 17 years of age, and for the last 14 years, this is extraordinary, and you will rarely find this in any organization. The top 5 leaders, we have not only stayed together, but we are absolutely incredibly close friends. We've grown from 1,000 people to 60,000 people. You do not grow through that kind of change with the same people unless you are incredibly committed to work through things. And I give God the glory for that very special accomplishment. 14 years of the same top leaders. If you look at my non-pastoral friends, just my regular friends, my top 5 friends, we've been friends for over 20 years. Every single one over 20 years. Some of us much longer than that, doing life together. But even more so, the real key beyond anything, I believe, is a group of people, a deep community that over a decade ago, Amy and I, along with 8 other families, a total of 9 of us, just got together and said, you know what? We're like-minded. We have the same values. We're going to do life together. We're all homeschool families, and so we wanted to give our children a community to grow up in where we could help parent one another, where we could be there for one another, where we could share in the good times and hurt together and minister to one another in the bad times. In fact, I want to just show you a couple of pictures. This was last week. One of the family members just built a new home after saving for years. This was us praying and dedicating the home. Then here are a few of the kids. There's over 50 some odd in total because homeschoolers don't know about birth control and they like to have sex. And so that's a lot of the kids, although like 3 of mine aren't even there. And this was just last week, and this is a group that we've been doing life together with for well over a decade. In fact, I made just a short list in my notes of some of the things that we've done together as a group over the years. We've done more projects than you can imagine. We've remodeled each other's homes. We've helped landscape yards. We've cleaned up after storms a bunch of times because of where we live. We have given money to send others on mission trips when they couldn't afford it. We have given cars when one family couldn't afford a car. Probably 5 or 6 cars over the years we've given to those who were in need. We've funded adoptions. Someone wanted to adopt but couldn't afford it. We all chipped in, helped them to adopt. We've chipped in to cover funeral expenses for those who couldn't cover funeral expenses. We've cared for one another's kids during illnesses. We've made more meals with pregnancies than you could ever count. There's a lot of love and baby reproducing. We've taken vacations together. Every Valentine's Day, we have a banquet. Every Thanksgiving, we have a feast. We bring cakes to the celebrations, and we bring tissues to the sad times. We have done life together. The most stunning thing to me, if you think about it, is over a course of about probably 12 years, 9 families are all still involved in the church. Every single one has a significant ministry to other people because they are others oriented. Every marriage is not only together, but is actually very, very strong. And I'm not going to celebrate too early because we still have a lot of kids to raise, but I will tell you this with all integrity, of over 50 some odd children in our community, every single last one of them are currently serving God in a very age-appropriate way. I don't know if you want to clap at any time, but I think that is incredibly extraordinary and special, and it did not happen by accident. What we have is a modern-day reflection of a first-century New Testament community that you can read about. No more powerful place in history than recorded in Acts chapter 2, verse 42 and following. It said, these New Testament believers, they devoted themselves. It wasn't a half-hearted thing. It was an all-in, devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer. In other words, it was community centered around Christ. It wasn't centered around soccer or around a neighborhood association. It was centered around Christ. Everyone was filled with awe, and many wonders and signs were performed by the apostles. All the believers, don't miss this, were together, and they had everything in common. You want to see love? Here's love. They sold property and possessions to give to anyone who had need. In other words, you're in our family, you don't go without, because we're family and we cover family. And that's exactly what we try to do today. Every day, verse 46, they continued to meet together in the temple courts, a picture of the church. They broke bread in their homes, a picture of the life group. And they ate together with glad and sincere hearts. You may be one community away from changing the course of your destiny. But I promise you, you don't just stumble into, by accident, a community like this. You create it with the love of Christ in an intentional way as believers come together. So what I want to do is, because I know you want it and you need it, give you 3 qualities of great Christian communities. Are you ready for this? All of our church, are you ready? Give me a love if you're ready. I need to know if you are ready. I've been preaching all weekend long, and I need a little bit of love because I like when you're with me. 3 qualities. The first one, if you're taking notes, is this. We have refrigerator rights. This is exciting. We have refrigerator rights. Think about this. If someone from my group comes over, they do not knock on the door because they're family, they just come in. If they want something in my refrigerator, they do not have to ask. Because family, what I have is yours, what you have is mine. Think about how weird it would be, though, if we didn't know each other well and you invited me to your house. We would probably hang out in the living room for a while because that's where you hang out when you don't know each other real well. My house, you sit your butt up on the countertop if you're in the community. Okay? If we're hanging out there and we're having a good time and I say, hey, excuse me for a second, walk into your kitchen, open up your refrigerator and start digging around, you're probably going to scratch your head. What's he doing? Make myself a sandwich, grab some fruit, come back in and sit down and say, oh, I should have asked, did you want anything while I was up? Okay? You probably won't say anything right there, but later on when you're talking to your friends, like, you're not going to believe what Pastor Craig did in our house. He just got up and helped himself to a bologna sandwich from the refrigerator. The reason that would be weird is because we do not have the intimacy and the trust and the depth of our relationship for me to have that right to do that without permission. But when you're family, you do. In fact, this is what they had in Acts chapter 2, verse 44. All the believers were together, and they had everything in common. We are such family that anything I have is yours. I would ask you this. Think about it. How many people outside your family have refrigerator rights in your life? Or think about it this way. How many other people outside your family do you have refrigerator rights in their life? I would say to you, if you tell me 2, 3, or 4, you do not have all that God wants you to have. You are relationally impoverished and don't even know it. Because God doesn't want us just to have a personal relationship with Him, but a shared relationship in a broader community where we're doing life together. If you ask me how many people have refrigerator rights to my home, outside of the 9 families, there's probably another 5 more. You add up all their kids, there's probably 75 or so, okay? Honest to goodness truth. But I will tell you, it wasn't always that way. And you need to hear me on this. It wasn't always that way. Early in our marriage and ministry, we had almost no close friends. And one of the reasons is, back when I was in seminary, I had a professor who taught us that you must always guard what he called the pastor's mystique. And he said, you can't be friends with the normal people because they need to see you as being above the man of God so they can receive from you. And so early on, we guarded the pastor's mystique. We weren't friends with the normal people, but guess what? It didn't work because the problem is he didn't realize we were normal people. And normal people need each other. So we just kind of decided we're not always going to be Pastor Craig and Amy. Sometimes we're just going to be Craig and Amy, and we're going to open up our home, and we're going to take risks, and we're going to love and be loved. And sometimes we'll be hurt, and sometimes we're going to disappoint people, but the risk of not having that is far greater than the risk of having it. We must have that because that is how God created us, to depend on Him and to depend on each other. We have refrigerator rights. The second thing, if you're taking notes, is this. What is the quality of great communities? We also all have flawed feet. We all have flawed feet. Some more flawed than others. Okay, I fall in the more flawed category. But my wife, Amy, says that I have socially unacceptable feet. That's what she says. They're about this long, and half of them are toes, okay? I can type 110 words a minute with my toes. They are long toes. You will never see me with open-toed sandals. You will not see it, okay? It's for your own safety. It's not going to happen. So whenever someone knocks on our door and we don't know who they are, if I'm hanging out in my shorts, which is kind of what I do, nothing else, Amy never says, "Oh my gosh, Craig, get on a shirt. I don't want to see without your shirt on." She never says that. She says, "Put on some shoes now. Don't let them see your feet." Okay? We all have flawed feet. Romans 15:7 tells us this, and this is the power of community, that we're told to accept one another, flawed feet and all. Accept one another. Then just as Christ accepted you. And when we're accepted and loved in the context of a community, Paul actually says this brings praise to God. Isn't that great? When we love one another, this brings praise to God. Now, I bragged on my group of friends a moment ago, and I told you all the great things about them. What I didn't tell you is that they all have flawed feet, every single one of them. All my close friends, they have very flawed feet. In fact, I'm just going to be real transparent about some of the flaws in our group. There have been more than one time that another guy in the group has opened up and said, "I'm really struggling with lust and looking at things I shouldn't be looking at." Flawed feet. And we've held one another accountable, and we've prayed for one another and helped them grow through those battles. More than one time, one of us has lost our way and drifted from the family, pursuing some things that don't matter as much. And in the context of community, we've gotten in each other's faces and said, "You need to get home and be a dad to your kids and be a better husband to your wife. You're drifting," and we've made those corrections. There's been more than one time when one or two wives didn't even like their husbands. Sick of him, I don't like the way he's treating me. And we have encouraged one another and prayed for one another and helped take a marriage that could have failed and helped it to become strong again. I told you all of our children are serving God, and they are, but there are some times when we've had challenges with our children. And we had another mom in our community make a significant investment into the lives of one of my daughters. And I've had the honor of making significant investments into the sons of some of the others from this group. And it's amazing what happens when there's a challenge with a kid. And it's not just our challenge, but it's a community challenge where we together are going to pray and support one another into a better place. And I'll be real honest. There have been times where we just didn't really like everybody in the group. Sometimes we get on each other's nerves. I mean, it's a spiritual principle. You get 9 women together over an extended period, and something's going to break down. Don't look at me like I'm not telling the truth. This is a principle. Well, she looked at me funny, and no, you know, right? And then she says something to her, "You can't talk to my wife that way," and then it's a challenge. But guess what didn't happen? Let me tell you what didn't happen. Nobody left the group. Nobody left the church. Well, bless God, if a Christian's going to act like that, I'm leaving this stupid church. None of them are Christian. None of them, especially Pastor Craig, because he leads the church. Okay? Nobody did that. Great thing about Life Church in many of our communities is you can get mad and you can leave your campus and go to another one. You can leave your church, but you don't have to. It's kind of a cool thing. Now, those of you in Fort Worth or Albany, you can't do that yet, but hang on, there'll come a day. Okay? Nobody left. No, here's what happened is, since we were family, we stayed together. And when we were wrong, we owned it and apologized. And when we were wronged, we chose to forgive. and worked through it. And we became more like Christ because we stayed involved in his church, okay? We all have flawed feet. In fact, in Scripture, anytime there was someone who was crippled, who was born with a defect, some kind of challenge, people would say, oh, it's because of sin. They'd always blame, oh, there must be sin. And that's what they would say. And so any type of crippled body part, they say is sin. Well, there's an amazing story in the Old Testament about a guy named Mephibosheth who had an accident and he was lame in his feet. And so society rejected him. But the king had mercy on him and showed love to him because of another relationship. And there's a powerful verse in 2 Samuel 9:13. And Mephibosheth lived in Jerusalem because he always ate where? He always ate at the king's table. And then it goes on to say he was what? He was lame in both feet. Don't miss the power of this, okay? All of society rejected him, but the king accepted him. And he always ate at the king's table, and he was lame in both feet. You know what? We all have crippled feet, but when you're at the king's table, guess what you don't see? You don't see the feet because it's covered by the table of the king. I don't know if you find the power in that, but we all come with our flawed feet, and we pull up to the table of the Lord, the King of Kings, and we dine together and love each other, even though we have flawed feet. Someone ought to cheer for that, because to be accepted in that way is to bring praise to God. We have refrigerator rights. We all have flawed feet. And since we have unusual metaphors today, we might as well stick with it. And the third one is this: we fight lions. A great quality of Christian communities is together we fight lions. 1 Peter 5:8 tells us to be alert and of sober mind, because your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a what? All of our churches, let's say this, like a roaring lion. What is he doing? He's looking for someone to devour. Now, don't miss the connection between Satan, the lion, and the cat family. I just want you to see how Satan is connected to cats. It's a very direct link, and you can find it everywhere in life if you look for it. So it's connected to cats, okay? So anyway, that's a side point. But we do have a spiritual enemy who wants to devour, to pick you off, to steal, kill, and destroy everything that matters to the heart of God. Now, I want to show you a quick video clip, which really is a great picture of how we stand together as Christians. It's got a little water buffalo in it, so we'll go ahead and watch this. This is a shortened version of one you can look at on YouTube. The lions they're crouching because that's what they're doing, and they're going to attack. Uh-oh, run, Forrest, run. And so he runs. Here comes the lions. Let's get this big one. Nope, he's too big. Let's find a little one. We'll take the most vulnerable one. And the lion picks off the baby into the water. Now watch as all the lions, we're going to attack this guy, because that's what's going to happen. Satan's going to attack your family, try to pick off a kid, maybe you, and there he is. He's vulnerable, but do not worry, he's going to live, because the lions didn't realize that water buffalo stick together. Hey, little pussycat, you mess with one, you mess with all of us, and you don't mess with one, because we're a community, and you know what we do? We fight lions. Run, cat, run. Get out of here. You don't mess with us. Wow! Ah! Take that, you stupid cat! Get out of here, you stupid cat! Get the heck out of here, because we stick together. You want some more? You want some more? Don't mess with us, because we outnumber you. And one by one, they run off the lions, and the little water buffalo lived to eat another day. Ladies and gentlemen, if water buffaloes can stick together like that, don't you think the church of the Lord Jesus Christ can? Don't you think we can stand together and we can fight and we can be in there with one another? Because when the enemy comes, we do not roll over. We stand up and fight, because Christianity is not a playground. This is a battleground. And our enemy comes to attack, but we've got each other's backs, and we're in each other's sides, and we're going to stand up for one another, and we're going to pray each other through it. You do not go down without the support of others. You don't want to fight cancer alone. You don't want to hurt financially alone. You don't want a kid wandering off alone. What you want is you want the strength of the body of Christ, standing with you, loving you, praying for you, encouraging you, and fighting with you. Because if you are alone, you are vulnerable. And some of you are vulnerable right now. You are one community away of changing the course of your destiny. And when you have it, it is so rich and so satisfying and so meaningful. And the non-believing world starts looking on going, man, you see the way they love each other? I mean, man, they take care of each other like they really care about each other. This is truly, I don't understand what they believe, but I want what they have. And suddenly Jesus' words come to life in John 13:35 when he says, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you do what? If you love one another. One of the greatest ways to let the light shine into the world is to love those within the family in such a contagious way that others want what you have. And suddenly you can say, it's not because we're good, it's because he's good and he's transformed us. And you can have that kind of love too. It's called Christianity. The Lord Jesus Christ, who loved us so much, he was willing to die. And because of what he did, that's why we are this way. Some of you, you don't have it. You've got relational poverty, and you didn't even realize it. You are one community away from changing the course of your destiny. But it's not going to happen by accident. You've got to be it to have it.
So you might be one community away from changing your destiny. But it comes through an intentionality to be who Christ created you to be. Because as Pastor Craig said, and I hope you don't miss this, to live independently is distinctly unchristian. It is an opposite of what Christ created us for. He just read the verse. Jesus said, everyone will know you are my disciples if you love one another. The mark of the defining distinctive characteristic of a person who's truly a follower of Jesus is love for other believers and a commitment to that. It's not knowledge, it's not giving, it's not even acts of service. All those things are great. The Apostle Paul said it this way. He said, knowledge actually puffs up, but love builds up. The way we build up each other is by learning to live together in love, because that's what followers of Jesus do. We love as we have been loved. And Jesus' example of love was to lay down his life. He said, no greater love has a man than he would lay down his life for another. And so we build intentional relationships built on giving of ourselves to one another. And without that, we're living in relational poverty. And that produces, the thing is, that produces a spiritual poverty as well. The two are linked together. In order to become all that God created us to be, there's a shared relationship where followers of Jesus Christ learn to live together in love. And as Pastor Craig said, if you want this, and I think most of us do. I remember as we went through this series back in the summer, that was the overwhelming thing I began to hear, is people starting to acknowledge this relational poverty. But so many of us struggle to find it, because if you want this, you have to be this. The starting place is not expecting others to do this for you. And that's one of the first missteps that I see people make. Is then we think, okay, because I'm in a church, because I go to a connect group, other people are supposed to do this for me. No, you should start from the place of, I want to be this for others, and then we begin to grow together. Now, I can't make this happen for you, and I can't promise it will happen, but I can predict it, and I can tee the ball up, if you will. That's what we try to do through what we call connect groups here at the Quest Church, where we gather together in these small groups in order to do life together and grow relationally and spiritually. And if you're in a group with a lot of good cooks, you might even grow physically. So there's even a side benefit to that as well, all right? And and I said during the summer, I didn't have this immediate practical step for you to take. But today, I can offer you a very powerful, practical next step, and that's to join a connect group. Our groups meet in semesters. We are beginning next week an 8-week semester, so there's on-ramps and off-ramps. We take little breaks in between semesters as well. And next week starts a new semester of Connect groups. What most of our groups, I think all of them right now, meet on Wednesday nights. That's not a requirement. Groups could meet on any night they wanted to, anytime they wanted to. But we provide child care here at the church on Wednesday nights. And so the majority of our groups gravitate towards that so that you can drop the kids off, go to Connect group. You have to come back and pick the kids up, okay? That is another requirement, and do that on time. Groups meet together and discuss the message. If you've never been in one of our groups, every week, starting next week, there will be questions on the back of the worship guide. If you're watching online, you can access that worship guide on the website. Those questions will be what the group is going to discuss. You listen to the message, and then you go to group and you discuss the message. You'll know exactly what's going to happen in a group. Most groups do eat together. Your host, the person that's house it at, will organize that so you can be a part of that. And then every group is required to pray together. Reading the questions with Scripture and praying together are required for every group. But you don't have to pray out loud if you're not comfortable doing that. And your facilitator knows not to call on you or ever make you uncomfortable by asking you to pray. It's an opportunity for you to share prayer requests if you want to, and if you're comfortable, you can pray for others as well. So I want to give you real quickly 4 things that will help that experience, because I want it to be a great experience. And some of you have tried a Connect group, and maybe it wasn't a great experience. Others of you, you'd like to do this, but you're not sure how it will go. So let me give you 4 quick tips, all right? Number 1, pick a group in a similar life stage as you if possible. Phil and Kathy Dace are our Connect group leaders. They're going to be back at the Connect group wall when this is over. They would love to help you find a group to connect with. And one of the things that they can do is help point you to a group of people in a similar life stage. You're going to probably build deeper relationships with people who are in a similar life stage, okay? That's not always the case, and we have groups that are mixed of people from all different life stages, and some of them build great connections. But most likely, as Pastor Craig talked about, your deepest relationships are going to be people that you grow with over time. Meredith and I have been very fortunate to have friends for many, many years. We raised our kids together. We've done life together, just like Craig talked about, because we had a very similar life stage. And so you might start there if you haven't been a part of a group before. Number 2 is to know this. Some people in the group will annoy you. Okay? This is just inevitable. Some of you in here, you dated a person for a length of time. You liked them so much you decided to marry them. You loved them desperately. They still annoy you, right? You had children together, and you loved those children with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and you would die for those children, but they still annoy you a lot, don't they? All right? So loving someone does not eliminate them being annoying. And you will love people in your group that will annoy you, okay? You just need to know that. You're not going to be in an environment with people that sometimes don't annoy you. And you need to be in that environment because that's how we grow to become more like Christ. Listen to what Paul said to the Colossians. Since God chose you to be the holy people he loves, you must. This is not optional. This is what believers in Jesus do. Clothe yourself with tender-hearted mercy, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Make allowance for each other's faults. Another translation says, put up with each other's faults, okay? And forgive someone who offends you. People in your group will offend you. They're humans. They fall short of God's glorious standard, and you do too, by the way. So remember, the Lord forgave you, so you must forgive others. Above all, clothe yourself with love, which binds us all together in perfect harmony. And so some people will annoy you. Matter of fact, there's 1 or 2 things happening if you're in a group with people and no one in the group annoys you. If that's true, number 1, you may need to go to another group because you need to be in a group with some people that annoy you so you can learn to be more like Jesus. But what's more likely is if you're in a group and no one in the group annoys you, it's because you're the annoying person, okay? And that's why you don't recognize that everybody else. So they, and they want you to go to another group. No, you can stay. But I'm just telling you, don't make the criteria that you like everyone in the group, okay? You have to learn to love people even that you don't like sometimes. Thank goodness Jesus does that for us. But number 3, don't be annoying, okay? Don't go into the group. Now, some of you are like, great, Pastor Jim said I go to a group and be annoying and they have to love me. But that's not what we're shooting for here, okay? Go to a group to be a part of and to do for others what you want done for you. And here's the number one way that people tend to be annoying in a group. And this might be you. If it is, I'm speaking the truth in love because I love you. Some people are annoying to the group because you talk too much, because you dominate the conversation, right? And you get into a group, and because of relational poverty, and maybe you don't have an outlet in other parts of life, and you're with a group of people that accept you and love you, is that you just don't know how to stop, and you just dominate the conversation. And ultimately, what you're doing is killing the health of the group. Think about this for a minute, okay? Your group is going to have discussion and prayer probably for about 90 minutes. Most groups go like this. People drop the kids off at 6. That's as early as you can drop them off unless you want them to stand outside. That's up to you. But at 6, the doors will open. You can drop the kids off. You can go to your group. You get to group by about 6:15, 6:20. You're going to share some meal together, have some time just to interact. So discussion's probably going to go from 7 to 8:30. Then you're going to wrap up with prayer, get back here by 9 o'clock. On the dot, no later than 9 o'clock, unless you like your kids standing outside by themselves. Then you come as late as you want to, all right? But we're closing the doors at 9 o'clock and pick up the kids. So you're looking at about 90 minutes. Now think about this. The average group is going to be about 12 people. Some groups are a little larger. We don't like them to get much larger for this factor. Some groups may be a little bit smaller. But if there are 12 people in your group and you all talk for 7 minutes, that's 84 minutes of the 90 minutes, okay? So if you talk for more than 7 minutes in a group of 12 people, then you have impeded anyone else from sharing. And someone doesn't get to share because you've talked too much. So literally, do this. And you know yourself, okay? Please, let's just be honest here. You know if you tend to overtalk, you dominate the discussion. So you just need to set your watch. Or you need to give your group permission because they love you to say, hey, when I've talked too much, y'all just let me know. And if you come to group with Pastor Jim, I promise you, Pastor Jim is going to say, all right, your time's up. We're moving on, right? Here's a verse for you. And for you Bible scholars, I know I'm taking this out of context. Somebody needs to hear this in the name of Jesus, okay? Understand this, my dear brothers and sisters. You must all be quick to listen and slow to speak. Now, that doesn't mean you speak more slowly. You've already got that down if you're a Northeast Texan. You already speak slow enough. It means that you should listen more than you talk. And so in your group, be a person who comes to listen to others. And yes, I want you to share, and that's an important part of the group. But don't dominate the discussion because ultimately we want to make room for everyone to participate. Go to your group with this goal. This is why our groups meet together. It's what our host and facilitators are trying to help accomplish when you meet together, is that you would be encouraged and then motivated to do love and good works together, okay? Encourage each other to love and to good works is tip number 4, because that's the purpose, ultimately, of meeting together. The writer of Hebrews says it this way: let us hold tightly without wavering to the hope we affirm, for God can be trusted to keep his promise. That's faith, learning to trust God to keep his promises. So how do we grow in faith? By thinking of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works. You go to a group thinking, how can I help others? How can I help the other people in my group grow in love and good works? He goes on, and let us not neglect our meeting together as some people do, but encourage one another, especially as the day of his return is drawing near. Groups should be And why you're going to go and what you're going to go to do is to be an encouraging person for others, that we would all grow in love and good works, become more like Jesus, loving each other more and serving Him better together. That's what should happen in a great group. We're spiritually and relationally connected, and it makes life better, and we do life better because of it. So join a group, okay? On the back of your communication card, there's a place to register for the group number that you want to attend. Those groups are over on the Connect Group wall. There's a little info sheet about every one of them. Phil and Kathy will be there to help you get connected. If you don't know what group to give a try, they'd love to point you in the right direction. Register for that group and be a part of it. Or take a next step for us and become a group host or facilitator, okay? A group host is the person who opens their home. And you say, okay, for the next 8 weeks, I will have people into my home on whatever night the group chooses. It's probably going to be a Wednesday night, but we can start groups on other nights if we have people that want to do that. Happy to do that. You'd prepare your home and allow people to come in. Or a facilitator. And our group facilitator, we always do this in tag team. There's a host and a facilitator. And the facilitator is simply the one who leads the discussion. You don't have to be a Bible knowledge expert. You just have to be the person who will help guide the group discussion. To be a facilitator, you do have to be a partner in the Quest Church. But I've even got good news for you on that. Our next partnership comes up, a seminar comes up next Sunday night. And so you could go ahead and volunteer to be a facilitator and become a partner next Sunday night, okay? If you're interested in taking that step for us of possibly becoming a host or a facilitator, there's a Connect Group rally this Wednesday night. Starts at 6:30 right here in this room. Now, this is not for just anyone who's going to be in a Connect Group. This is for people who are hosts or facilitators or are willing to consider being one. And if that's you, register on that communication card that you're going to come out Wednesday night at 6:30, and we'll walk through what it means to be a host or a facilitator and help you take that next step, okay? Pastor Craig said it this way: show me your friends, and I'll show you your future. And for some of you, when it comes to your spiritual future, it's in trouble because you're not spiritually connected with other people in relationships, right? You may have friends, but if those friendships are not encouraging you to love and good works, if they're not spiritual friendships, then ultimately they're not going to change your future. Some of you know your friends are trouble and your future's in trouble if you keep hanging out with those people. That's just a reality. Show me your friends, I'll show you your future. Some of you, your future is lonely because you've chosen independence over relational connection. And I get it. You may be introverted and shy. You may have baggage. I understand all those things, believe me. But your future is lonely if you don't strive to be the person you need to be, to have these relational connections that make life better together. And for some of you, today's the day, as I said. You're going to look back 3 years from now, 5 years from now, and say, man, that's the day I made a choice to go to a Connect group. I got connected relationally with a group of people who loved me and accepted me, and I began to love and accept them. And we got refrigerator rights, and we all sat around the table with our flawed feet. And when the enemy came, we fought the lions together. And my life is better because of these people. And that was the day, September the 12th, 2021, when I decided that I was going to commit to living the way Christ created me to live. Not independent, but dependent, learning to love other believers just like Christ loved me. And so that's my prayer for you today. And today there's never going to be a better opportunity to take a practical next step and put this into action. Let me pray for you. Father, thank you so much for this good day. Thank you for the blessing in my life, God, of having had friendships along the way that weren't just friends, but people who stuck closer than brothers, spiritually connected, who have loved and encouraged me to good works and to become more of who you created me to be. God, thanks for every person that hosts and facilitates connect groups for us already here at the Quest Church, because they're the ones who get this and are striving to make this possible for anyone who wants it. And I pray for those today, God, who are now saying, I get it, I have relational poverty, and I need something different. I pray for those divine appointments, God. Would you guide them into just the right group that's going to be that connection that makes life better, makes life different as they move forward and grow with this great group of people. God, I pray for all of our connect groups that are about to launch in just a week, that in your power we would all become more of who you created us to be. And I pray in Jesus' name, amen.
Ramblers in the wilderness, can't find what we need. We get a little restless from the searching, get a little worn down in between. Like a bull chasing the matador, is a man left to his own scheme. Everybody needs someone beside him, shining like a lighthouse from the sea. Brother, let me be your shelter, never leave you. I could be the one you call when you're low. So brother, let me be your fortress when the night winds are driving on. Be the one I light the way, bring you home.
Face down in the desert now. There's a cage locked around my heart. Found a way to drop the keys when my failures running and my hands can't reach that far. I ain't made for rivalry. I can never take the world alone. Know that in my weakness I am strong, but it's your love that brings me home. Brother, let me be your shelter. Never leave all alone. I can be the one you call when you're low. Brother, let me be your fortress when the night winds are driving on. Be the one that light the way, bring you home.
And when you call and need me near, saying where'd you go, brother, I'm right here.
And on those days when the sky begins to fall, you're the blood of my blood. We can get through it all. Brother, let me be your shelter.
Never leave you all alone. I can be the one you call when you're low.
Brother, let me be your fortress.
When the night winds are driving on, be the one to light the way,
Bring you home. So brother, let me be your shelter.
I'll never leave you alone. I can be the one you call when you're low.
So brother, let me be your fortress.
When the night winds are driving on, be the one to light the way,
Bring you home.
be the one to light the way.
Bring you home.
Yeah. Hey, two quick things and I'll get you out of here. For our Teen Quest group, they were off last week, but tonight they're back together. 6 o'clock tonight, they have their big sports spectacular. So high school and junior high students, you're going to have a great time tonight right here at 6 o'clock. And by the way, in every one of our ministries, Teen Quest and Kids Quest, small group experiences are baked in. Our teens break into small groups every time they meet on their regular deal. Your kids this morning had small group time as well, because we value and we believe this is an important part of becoming who God created us to be. And then if you are interested in making your next step of connection with the Quest Church, we call that partnership. And next Sunday night is our partnership seminar. I talked about in order to facilitate a group, you've got to be a partner. So if that's something you were interested in, come Wednesday night to the Connect Group rally with a commitment to come Sunday night to the partnership seminar, and we can help you take those steps, get you connected if you're interested in taking the next step of connection here at the church. Man, thanks so much, church. God bless you. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you next Sunday.